Welcome to the Horror Hearth, where we explore the darker side of life. Today we're counting down 10 horrifying true stories that will give you chills. From mysterious disappearances to gruesome murders, these stories are sure to send shivers down your spine. So, let's get started. In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers embarked on an expedition to the Ural Mountains in Russia. Several weeks later, their bodies were found, and the investigation revealed a bizarre and terrifying series of events. The hikers' tent was ripped open from the inside, and their bodies were found scattered across the mountain, some with severe internal injuries. The investigation was unable to determine the cause of their deaths, and the incident remains one of the most bizarre and unexplained in history. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the San Francisco Bay Area was terrorized by a serial killer known as the Zodiac Killer. The killer sent cryptic letters and codes to the police and newspapers, taunting them with his crimes. The Zodiac Killer was responsible for the deaths of at least 5 people, and his identity remains unknown to this day. The case remains one of the most infamous unsolved serial killer cases in American history. In 1974, the DeFeo family was brutally murdered in their home in Amityville, Long Island. The house was later purchased by the Lutz family, who claimed to have experienced a series of terrifying paranormal events. The Lutz family's experiences were later immortalized in the best-selling book and film, The Amityville Horror. While the authenticity of their claims has been disputed, the Amityville Horror remains one of the most famous haunted house stories in American folklore. In 1996, 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant JonBenet Ramsey was found murdered in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. The case remains one of the most infamous unsolved murders in American history. The investigation into JonBenet's murder was botched from the start, and the case remains a source of fascination and frustration for true crime enthusiasts to this day. On Christmas Eve in 1945, a fire destroyed the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. 5 of the 9 Sodder children were missing, and despite a thorough investigation, no bodies were ever found. The disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries in American history. Theories have ranged from a serial killer to a coal mine collapse, but the truth remains unknown. Between 1987 and 2007, a serial killer known as the Grim Sleeper murdered at least 10 people in Los Angeles. The killer, later identified as Lonnie David Franklin Jr., was caught in 2010 and sentenced to death. The Grim Sleeper's crimes were particularly heinous, as he targeted vulnerable women and left their bodies in alleys and dumpsters. His case highlights the need for greater awareness and action to prevent serial killers from striking. In 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann disappeared from her hotel room in Praia da Luz, Portugal. Despite a massive investigation and numerous sightings, Madeleine's fate remains unknown. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is one of the most infamous missing persons cases in history, and it continues to captivate the public's imagination to this day. In 1965, a woman named Gwendolyn Graham worked as a nurse at a hospital in Michigan. She was later convicted of murdering 5 elderly patients, and her case remains one of the most shocking examples of serial murder in American history. Graham's motives for the murders were never fully understood, and her case raises disturbing questions about the nature of evil and the ability of ordinary people to commit horrific crimes. In 1955, a 14-year-old boy named Emmett Till was brutally murdered in Mississippi by 2 white men who objected to his flirting with a white woman. Till's murder was a catalyst for the civil rights movement, and it remains one of the most infamous hate crimes in American history. The brutality of Till's murder and the subsequent acquittal of his killers shocked the nation and highlighted the deep-seated racial tensions that continue to plague America to this day. In 1971, a serial killer known as the Co-Ed Killer terrorized the campus of the University of California, Santa Cruz. The killer, later identified as Edmund Kemper, murdered 6 young women and his own mother before turning himself into the police. Kemper's crimes were particularly shocking due to his intelligence and charisma, which he used to lure his victims to their deaths. His case raises disturbing questions about the nature of serial murder and the ability of ordinary people to commit horrific crimes. In 1983, a 17-year-old girl named Tina Bigger went missing in California. Her body was later found in a wooded area, and the investigation revealed a shocking and disturbing series of events. And that concludes our countdown of 10 horrifying true stories that will give you chills. Each of these cases is a sobering reminder of the darkness that exists in the world and the importance of seeking justice for victims and their families. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime content. Remember, some stories may be disturbing or triggering for certain viewers. Please watch with discretion.